His passport was real. The country on its cover was not. In the summer of 1954, Tokyo's Haneda Airport was one of the busiest transit hubs in post-war Asia. Thousands of travelers passed through its customs halls every week. Japan's immigration system at the time was methodical, precise. Every document was checked. Every traveler was logged. It was within this system, designed to leave no anomaly unrecorded, that something impossible was documented. A man arrived on a routine flight. He was well-dressed, composed, and carried documents that appeared entirely legitimate. When customs officers examined his passport, they found it issued by a nation called Tord, a country that, by every available record, did not exist. The man was not alarmed. He was confused, because to him, his country had existed for over 1,000 years. What happened over the next 36 hours has never been fully explained. The official file, if it ever existed, has not been released. Recently, a private collector in Osaka acquired a lot of mid-century personal effects from an estate sale. Among them was a small, cloth-bound journal. From the journal, July 11th. I have landed in Tokyo, as scheduled. The officers here seem to believe I am lying. I do not yet understand why. The journal was written in a neat, deliberate hand. The ink had faded to the color of old amber, but every word remained legible. From the journal, July 11th, continued, they have taken my passport. A senior officer studied it for a long time without speaking. His expression was not suspicion. It was something closer to discomfort. The passport itself has never been recovered, but the journal describes it in precise detail. Burgundy cover, gold embossed lettering, the seal of a nation called Tord. From the journal, July 12th. They have shown me a map, a large, detailed map of Europe. They asked me to point to my country. I did. They went very quiet. The region the man indicated was Andorra, a small principality nestled in the Pyrenees, recognized by every nation in 1954. It was not called Tord. From the journal, I told them the name on the map was wrong, that the country there has always been called Tord, for as long as anyone can remember. They looked at me as if I had said something dangerous. The man also carried other documents, a driver's license, corporate papers, a checkbook from a bank whose name matched no institution in any financial directory of the era. From the journal, they brought a translator, then another. Neither could identify the language of some of my secondary documents, but I wrote them myself in a language I have spoken since childhood. He spoke Japanese fluently, according to later accounts. He also spoke French, and what witnesses described as a third language, melodic, structured, and entirely unidentifiable. From the journal, July 12th, evening. They have given me a room in a hotel near the airport. 2 guards outside the door. I am not under arrest, they said, but I am not free either. The hotel room was small and functional. A window overlooked the runway, where planes moved in and out of a world the man apparently no longer recognized. From the journal, July 12th, late. I can hear aircraft. I have been trying to sleep, but the silence inside this room is louder than the engines outside. Immigration officials returned the following morning with additional maps, additional translators, and a senior officer from the Ministry of Justice. The questioning resumed. From the journal, July 13th. They have asked me the same questions many times now. Each time I answer, they write something down and look at one another. No one tells me what they are writing. The corporate papers he carried referenced a company with offices in Tokyo, Paris, and a third city whose name appeared in no commercial registry from that period. From the journal, they telephoned the Tokyo office listed in my papers, someone answered. I could hear the officer's voice change when they did, quieter, more careful. What was said in that phone call was never recorded in any document the journal references. The man only noted that afterward The officers left the room for a long time. From the Journal, July 13th, afternoon. A new man came. He did not introduce himself. He sat across from me and simply looked at my face for a very long time before speaking. The checkbook, according to the Journal, was examined by at least 3 officials. The bank's name, printed clearly on every page, matched nothing in the international banking records of 1950. From the Journal, he asked me if I had ever heard of a country called Andorra. I said yes, a small territory, mostly historical. He asked me when it had changed its name. I told him it had never been called Andorra. Not in my lifetime. Not in my father's. The unnamed official wrote something in a small notebook. He did not show it to the man. He did not show it to anyone in the room. From the Journal, he asked me to describe Tord, its capital, its government, its borders. I answered everything. He wrote it all down without once looking surprised. The man described a capital city, a functioning government, a history stretching back over a millennium. None of it matched any record held by any nation on earth. From the Journal, July 13th, late afternoon. He left without explanation. A younger officer brought me tea. He set it down and did not meet my eyes. Small gestures recorded in the Journal, the averted eyes, the careful placement of a cup, suggest the officers themselves had begun to feel something they could not articulate. From the Journal, I asked to telephone my company's Tokyo office myself. After a long pause, they allowed it. The line rang for some time. No one answered. The same office that had answered for the officers now returned only silence. The Journal records no explanation for this. The man simply noted the fact and stopped writing for several hours. From the Journal, July 13th, evening. I have begun to wonder whether the problem is with them, or whether something has gone wrong with me, or with the world I arrived into. This line, understated, almost clinical, is among the most studied passages in the Journal. It does not read like panic. It reads like a man performing a very careful calculation. From the Journal, if my country does not exist on their maps, then either their maps are wrong, or I am somewhere I was never meant to be. That night, the guards outside his door were quietly doubled. No official explanation was given, not to the man, and not to the hotel staff. From the Journal, July 13th, night. I can see the shadow of one of them through the gap beneath the door. He has not moved in over an hour. The man spent that night writing. Not a plea, not a protest, but a meticulous account of his life, his work, and the country he had come from. From the Journal, I have written down everything I know about Tord. Its roads, its seasons, the smell of its markets in summer. If I am wrong about all of this, then I am wrong about everything I have ever known. By the morning of July 14th, the case had quietly escalated. Personnel from at least 2 government ministries were now involved, according to records from the period. From the Journal, July 14th. 2 new men this morning, better dressed. They spoke to each other before speaking to me, and they chose their words the way one chooses steps on uncertain ground. One of them placed a new map on the table, larger, more detailed than the first. He asked the man to look again, carefully, and reconsider his answer. From the Journal, I looked at the map for a long time. The borders were wrong, not slightly wrong, fundamentally wrong, in ways I could not explain without sounding as though I had lost my mind. He pointed again to the same region, the same answer, the same quiet in the room. Whatever the officials had hoped he might say differently, he did not say it. From the Journal, they are not trying to catch me in a lie. I understand that now. They are trying to find an explanation they can live with. So far, they have not found one. That afternoon, a document examiner was brought in, a specialist, according to one ministry record, in the authentication of foreign papers. From the Journal, July 14th, midday. A small man with careful eyes examined everything I carried. He worked in silence for nearly 2 hours. When he finished, he said nothing to me at all. The examiner's report, if one was ever written, has never surfaced in any public archive. What remains is only the journal's account of his silence. From the journal, July 14th, afternoon. One of the better-dressed men returned alone. He asked me whether I had ever, at any point, doubted my own memory. I told him I had not. He nodded slowly, as if this were the wrong answer. The question itself is revealing. By the second day, officials were no longer attempting to disprove the man's documents. They were attempting to locate a flaw in the man himself. From the journal, he asked me to describe the journey here, not the flight, but the days before it. I told him about my office in the capital, the papers I had prepared the evening before departure. He wrote it all down. His hand did not stop once. The man's account of his life before the flight was consistent across every retelling, same details, same sequence, same calm certainty. Investigators found no contradictions. From the journal, July 14th evening. They have telephoned someone I cannot identify, a long call, conducted in another room. When the man returned, something in his manner had shifted. He seemed, for the first time, uncertain of his own authority. Whatever was communicated in that call altered the direction of the investigation. The questioning did not resume that evening. The man was returned to his hotel room without explanation. From the journal, July 14th, night. The room is the same. The guards are the same. But something has changed in the quality of the silence, as though a decision has been made that no one intends to share with me. On the morning of July 15th, the man was not brought in for questioning. No officer came. No meal was delivered until well past the usual hour. From the journal, July 15th, morning, nothing. I have waited by the door. I have listened. The shadow that was always there beneath it. Today it is gone. The absence of routine in a controlled detention is rarely accidental. Something had shifted in the structure of the case, not in the man's favor, and not against him. From the journal, July 15th, midday. A woman brought food. She was not one of the usual staff. She looked at me the way one looks at something that should not be there, not with fear, but with a kind of careful attention. By midday on July 15th, the man had been held for over 60 hours. Under Japanese immigration law at the time, continued detention without formal charge required ministerial authorization. From the journal, July 15th afternoon. The better-dressed man came again. He set a single sheet of paper on the table and asked me to read it. It was a summary of everything I had told them. Every detail was correct. The document, as the man described it, was a precise transcription, not an interpretation, not a summary shaped toward any conclusion. Simply what he had said, rendered faithfully. From the journal, he told me they had verified everything they were able to verify. He used that phrase carefully, everything they were able to verify. The rest, he said, remained outstanding. What could not be verified was not a detail or a date. It was the existence of an entire nation. That was the outstanding matter. That was what remained. From the journal, July 15th, late afternoon. He asked me one final question. He asked me whether, if I were in their position, I would believe me. I thought about this for a long time. I told him honestly that I did not know. The official looked at him for a long moment after that answer. Then he gathered his papers and left the room without another word. From the journal, July 15th evening. No one has returned. The light through the window has gone from gold to gray. I have begun to count the hours not as a man waiting to leave, but as a man waiting to understand. That evening, according to hotel records from the period, 2 additional staff members were reassigned away from the floor where the man was being held. No reason was logged. From the journal, I have read back everything I have written. It is accurate. It is consistent. It describes a life that is entirely real to me and entirely invisible to them. The journal entries from the final hours of July 15th are shorter, more spaced, as though the man had begun to conserve something, energy, or words, or certainty. From the journal, July 15th night. I have placed my passport, my documents, and my wallet on the desk in front of me. I have looked at them for a long time. They are mine. I am certain of this. What happened next is the point at which every account of this case arrives, and where every account quietly diverges. The morning of July 16th produced no record and no witness who would speak on record. From the journal, July 16th. I slept. When I woke, the quality of the air in the room was different, not the air itself, but what it seemed to carry, a stillness that felt less like waiting and more like aftermath. Airport security records for July 16, 1954, show a routine morning, arrivals processed, departures logged, nothing flagged. The man from Tord does not appear in them at all. From the journal, if you are reading this, then I was not able to explain it myself. I hope you are better placed than I was. I hope the maps you have are more complete. The journal ends there. No signature, no date appended after that final line. Only the clean edge of the last written page. What became of the documents he left on the desk, the passport, the wallet, the papers, is a question the official record does not answer. From the journal, I have placed my things where they can be found. Whatever happens next, I want there to be something left that proves I was here. No deportation order was ever processed. No repatriation flight was arranged. The man was not transferred to any facility whose records have since been located. By every available measure, the case was simply, and without explanation, closed. Not resolved. Closed. The hotel room was reported clean and unoccupied by the morning of July 16th. The staff member who reported it has no further entries in the employment record after that week. The region the man had pointed to on every map, the place he had called Tord, sits today within the borders of Andorra, a nation of fewer than 80,000 people, entirely unremarkable. Andorra has existed under that name for centuries. There is no historical record of any nation called Tord ever occupying that territory, in any era, under any government. And yet the passport was real. The stamps were real. The company records, the currency, the years of accumulated travel, all of it bore the marks of a life genuinely lived. The man from Tord did not vanish like a ghost. He disappeared like a fact, something that was undeniably present, and then, without explanation, was simply no longer there. In the decades since 1954, researchers have submitted formal requests to the Japanese Ministry of Justice for any documentation related to the case. The responses, where they came at all, cited records that could not be located. The airport itself, Haneda, as it stood in 1954, has since been rebuilt and expanded beyond recognition. The terminal where the man arrived no longer exists in any physical form. What remains are the secondary traces: a customs log entry, a hotel assignment record, a single line in a ministry communication that references an unnamed detainee from an unrecognized territory. That phrase, unrecognized territory, is the only language the official record ever used. Not impossible. Not fraudulent. Unrecognized. The distinction matters. Fraud implies a fabrication. Unrecognized implies something that exists, but that the existing framework has no category to contain. Several researchers in the 1970s and 1980s attempted to trace the passport's physical description, its color, its seal, the specific typeface of its issuing authority. No match was ever found in any known catalog of national documents. The company the man claimed to work for, whether the call was never made, never logged, or deliberately removed from the record, that question has no available answer. The gap simply exists and holds its shape. What the case leaves behind is not a solved puzzle with a missing piece. It is something stranger, a complete picture, coherent in every detail, that corresponds to nothing in the world we can verify. The man from Tord arrived with proof of a life. He left behind proof of nothing, except that he had been there, and that no one, then or since, has been able to explain what that means. In the years following the case, a small number of immigration officials who had been present at Haina in July 1954 were interviewed informally. None would confirm the story. None would deny it. That silence, not denial, not confirmation, is itself a kind of record. It is the shape that institutional memory makes when it has been asked to forget something it cannot fully explain. The journal itself, the physical object, has never been produced for independent examination. Those who have cited it describe its pages as thin, the ink slightly faded, the handwriting precise and unhurried. From the journal, I have always believed that a man is the sum of the places that know him. If no place knows you, what then remains? That line, written somewhere between July 15th and the morning of July 16th, is perhaps the closest the man ever came to articulating what was happening to him. Not panic. A philosophical question, asked quietly, in the dark. There is a version of this story in which the man was a sophisticated fraud, a forger of extraordinary skill, an operator of some kind whose scheme unraveled in a Tokyo holding room. That version requires no country to exist. But it also requires every examiner who handled those documents to have been deceived completely. The paper, the ink, the binding, the accumulated wear of years of legitimate use. No one at the time called it a forgery. There is another version, quieter, stranger, in which the documents were exactly what they appeared to be, in which the man was telling the truth, in which the problem was not with the man, but with the world he had arrived in. From the journal, I do not think I am lost. I think I am somewhere that does not yet have a name for what I am. That is a different thing entirely. I hold on to that distinction. The case of the man from Tord has never been officially reopened, officially closed, or officially explained. It exists in the record the way he existed in that room, present, documented, and entirely unresolved. There is a line in the final journal entry that no researcher has been able to move past, not because it is cryptic, but because it is perfectly, quietly clear. He did not ask to be believed. He only asked that something be left behind, some trace, however small, that a man had passed through and that the world he came from was real.